Welcome to the Messy Middle Road Trip podcast. Today, Sandra and I are coming together to chat about the holidays and how alcohol plays a part in that celebration. We know you'll love it, so let's grab the snacks, call shotgun, and hit the road for another episode.
I'm Sandra.
And I'm Nicole, and we're entrepreneurs,
Wives,
a mom,
a favorite auntie,
creative souls,
and women who are fearlessly navigating the middle of life.
We created a community of women over 40 who embrace the past, appreciate where we are now, and take action to live our best life because it's all about the journey. Hello, Sandra.
Hello, Nicole. It is great to see you.
You too. Happy holidays.
I know. Same to you. Are you in the spirit?
I'm getting there for sure.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's really just been this week that I finally tuned into it. I've gotten the bulk of my work done. I've gotten most of my shopping done, although this year it's been a lot less. And I feel like I'm finally starting to enjoy it. Plus we had snow yesterday and that was awesome.
I know. And it's so interesting because, my kiddos they're older now. They're 13 and 17.
Yeah.
And so we've lost a little bit of the magic that went along with the holidays. And my 13-year-old said to me yesterday, Mom, I'm really excited for Christmas this year.
Really?
And I thought, that's awesome because there's so much to not be excited about what happened in 2020 that the fact that she's rallying at the end of the year and embracing that. And we decorated a little bit earlier this year.
Yeah.
And we got our tree a little earlier. So got shopping, started shopping a little earlier. And I think they want us to go all out, and I'm game because I don't want to make the same mistakes I did for Thanksgiving, because normally we have a big spread. We do hors d'oeuvres, crazy amounts, but it was really just the four of us this year. So I thought to myself, I'm not doing hors d'oeuvres. We're just going to have a meal.
Yeah.
And they were so mad at me. They all said,
"Where are the snacks?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are all the snacks? I'm starving.
Yeah.
I was like, whoops. So I need to make sure that I don't do that this year.
Hilarious.
And then, of course, my mother-in-law saved the day because she made double eggs and she sent them over.
Hi.
So
Thanks,
my
Mom.
17-year-old was thrilled.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, we definitely have done things a little differently this year, like for Thanksgiving, but we are going to stay home and we are making a full-on dinner, and we are going to have some friends pop by for an outdoor cocktail, and we're going to light a fire and that kind of thing. So it'll be a short visit because I imagine it will be cold, but we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is going to look different this year. There's no question.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that we can twist the arms of my mom and my in-laws to come over and just be with us for a bit so they could see the kids open the gifts from them. And even if they want everyone to wear masks, I want to spend some time with them where we're not doing a drive-by. We did Meals on Wheels for Thanksgiving is what we were calling them, where we made the meal and everybody had their plates that went with them, and we didn't get to spend time with them. And that's hard.
It is hard.
When they're in their 70s. And
yeah, totally.
And both my husband and I are only children in that regard for our parents. So it's just us. And so that's kind of lonely to have them by themselves, and they haven't really tackled the whole Zoom thing. So
oh yeah.
like
that makes a difference, being able to see each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, in thinking about the holidays and celebrating a little differently, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about whether or not to drink during the holidays, and have you had alcoholic drinks during the holidays? If you have, why or why not?
Well, I know looking back in my 20s, that was a big deal, right? That was the thing that everybody did. You would come home from college, or you would come home when you were just graduated college, see the family. Everybody would have the cocktails with dinner, but then we would all make the plans to go out to the local tap room or brewery or bar, and we'd meet up with everyone, and you would connect. That's actually how I met my husband, believe it
Oh,
or
how
not.
funny. Huh.
It was a post-Christmas uh, get together, and we all congregated at a bar in Holyoke, and we met up, and he was out with his ex-girlfriend, and he and I clicked,
Uh-huh.
and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And you didn't think twice about how much you were imbibing. It was part of the celebration, and the adults that we were spending time with at that point were also really into alcohol and celebrating the holidays. So it's kind of what we grew up with seeing and what we did. And I think we carried that on as we became adults and even as we had our own children. Certainly, we always had wine flowing at the holidays. We always had special mixed drinks and things. But it really changed for me when I really stopped to take a look at my health and
And what
really
age were you?
was really recent actually, because even when I was sick with my psoriatic arthritis and I was taking I can't even speak, a biologic drug that says right on the label that you should really limit your alcohol intake,
Yeah.
I was still imbibing and doing my wine and my occasional beer. And it wasn't until probably about 2.5 going on 3 years ago when I really got serious about, okay, I need to clean up my eating habits. I really need to look at my exercise, my food intake, my products. I need to make a shift. And one of the things that was part of that, because I did an elimination diet, was no alcohol and
Yeah.
no sugar,
Mm,
because
yes.
alcohol has a ton of sugar in it.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And I definitely felt a difference, a positive difference with my health when I was not drinking. And I've never been a super heavy drinker anyway. Uh, I would normally do on a regular basis 2 drinks, 3 drinks. I'm small. I don't need a lot to uh, feel tipsy, and so it wasn't really that difficult for me to walk away from it. It wasn't something that I felt like I needed to have. Uh, but the interesting thing was that I've occasionally had a drink here or there, but recently I went through a heavy metal detox, and part of that was
Wait a
really,
minute. Wait a minute. Can I stop you?
yeah, yeah.
You don't mean heavy metal as in rocker, right?
No, I was not busting out my 80s hair.
I was like, wait a minute. Let me just double check on that
Yeah,
one.
no. No, heavy
Okay.
metals in my body that
Yes.
have just accumulated over time. And the interesting thing that I discovered going through that process was that there was some major damage done to my liver
Hmm.
from the medication that I had been on for over a decade for my psoriatic arthritis, but also the drinking played into that as well, because I had just, you think you're invincible. You think that nothing's gonna harm you. And when you really stop to realize how hard our internal organs work to cleanse our bodies and to
Yeah.
keep us
Yeah.
healthy, and man, we pollute them constantly. We are always putting things in our mouths that we shouldn't be with regard to food and drink. And we don't stop to think, like, how is this affecting my overall health? And so COVID was an eye opener to me, because when the lockdown hit, I admittedly sat and drank a full bottle of wine because I was in lockdown mode. Kids had gone remote learning. I was having a bit of a panic attack, freak out, and I felt terrible the next day from the
Mm,
sugar intake, and just it really flared my psoriasis. It was just awful.
yeah.
And then everything I heard was, it's probably the worst thing you could do is drink during COVID, because when you are ingesting those sugars, you're lowering your immunity and you're opening yourself up to actually getting the virus.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
thought, oh, that makes sense.
But
So,
it's very difficult to not want to have a couple of drinks because you're feeling so anxious. I mean,
yeah.
I know for myself, I found that I was drinking every night. And I think it was, there was so much uncertainty and fear. And that just felt like a way to just dim things a little bit.
Right. And it's all over our social media feeds, right? How many drinking memes did we see during the whole pandemic?
You
It
bet.
was, and people were sharing them and it was funny. But now I'm looking at it with a whole different light because it's just not something that's on my radar. And it's interesting because my teenager said to me the other day something about drinking. And she said, well, you're no fun because you don't drink. And she
Mm.
doesn't drink. She's 17. But it was so interesting that she had that perspective of me, right? Because
Well, yeah.
I wasn't the cool mom hanging out, drinking the White Claw or whatever.
Well, I feel like for myself over the last, I don't know, say 5 years or more, I began to really tune into my relationship to alcohol. And I was realizing so when I think about celebrating, whether it be the holidays, a birthday, whatever it is, good news, I'm like, let's bring out the drinks. And I can't have that much to drink either. I'm a small person. I've never been able to take in a whole lot. But what I was finding was that every time there was an occasion to celebrate, the booze came out. I would push it a little too hard because I was like, this feels good. And then I would go just a little too far. And then I would feel like crap. And I think some of it has to do with getting older, that
Mhm.
we're just not able to take in as much. Our body may not be able to process as much. But I began to realize that I was drinking for the wrong reasons. And I began to choose months where I would drink nothing because I wanted to see how that felt. And I have to admit to you, during the times that I have, gone dry, I have felt so much better. I sleep better. I um, I don't feel the pressure to have to get a little tipsy when I'm with other people to perform, to be a
Mhm.
certain way. I really think that when you start to tune in to some of the reasons why you're drinking, if
Mm.
it goes beyond just enjoying it with a meal or what have you, then I do think it's worth investigating why alcohol plays a part in your life. And this past month, I have trimmed out the alcohol again because I found that I was drinking it because I was feeling stressed or I was feeling like I needed it.
Mm.
I needed it as a way
It
to just,
almost becomes a habit, right?
well, yeah, I mean, that is the other thing. I think it is sheer habit when you're used to doing it. Like we were drinking every night over here.
Mhm.
And I think for a while we were drinking 2 or 3 drinks. And that's a fair amount, I think, during the week.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the holidays. I mean, do you feel more of a reason to want to have alcohol during the holidays?
I think it definitely anytime that, like you said, there's a celebration, yeah, it's because it's a habit, because it's been something that we've done for years and years, it just feels natural to open up a bottle of wine, to make a cocktail. But again, having that shift in perspective, my husband even asked me the other day, do you want me to get a bottle of wine for Christmas just to have in case you want a glass?
Right?
Which is so interesting because he sees that shift in me. And I'm okay, and I've always been okay with eating or drinking something separate of everybody else. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like if
Yes.
somebody's I don't eat steak, for example. I don't eat beef in that capacity. But if somebody's sitting at a table with me and eating that, I'm okay. Same thing. I'm okay with sipping on my cucumber water while somebody's having a cocktail. If I'm not vibing it, I'm not going to have it. And I've had that strength of character, I guess, for my entire life. So I'm not a follower in that regard. If I want something, I will do it or I will partake in it
Yeah.
without personal judgment. I don't really care. what
Yeah.
anybody else thinks,
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to me that I think there's such a stigma attached. Growing up, I can remember the word teetotalers was always thrown out with, oh, so and so's parents, yeah, they're sober. They don't touch a drop of alcohol. My mother-in-law doesn't drink at all, and I can remember my father-in-law asking her, "Do you want me to make you something with a little Bailey's Irish cream in your coffee for the holidays?" And like you said,
Yeah.
kind of pushing it because he was having a beer, so he
Yeah.
wanted to feel like he was in good company, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she stood her ground and said, "No, I don't like the taste of it. I don't like the way it makes me feel."
Yeah.
And she's diabetic, so she has to watch out for her sugars.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I respect that.
Well, I
I'm
can,
interested though. I want to ask you, Sandra,
yeah.
do you feel like you grew up with kind of having that celebratory drink? I mean, Irish Italian family, like,
Well, so here's the interesting thing. I grew up with alcohol in the sense that my dad made wine every year,
okay,
but my parents didn't do cocktails. My dad would have cold beers in the summer, but not like a lot of them. It was just one or two. They weren't and still aren't big drinkers. So it's interesting that for me, I felt a real connection to alcohol, particularly around the holidays or occasions of celebration. And I think that has a lot to do with my own stuff, meaning I, you know, I think when I was younger, I felt a little bit like a performer. I was entertaining the family or the extended family or whomever. And as I got older, so this is interesting. As I got older and I was in high school and I was experiencing panic attacks, I remember being at a party and I remember having a wine cooler. And this will tell you, I grew up in the 80s.
right,
And what I discovered in drinking that was it made me feel a little more relaxed. And I was like, wow, this is kind of awesome.
right.
Because if you're anyone who struggles with anxiety, having that vibration going on all the time is really challenging. So to have something that is going to quiet down that feeling in your body is really kind of a nice thing. And I also think on some level, it gives you that courage to be or act a certain way. People refer to alcohol as liquid courage. And so I think there were lots of reasons why I turned to alcohol and it became a habit. It became a habit as a way to calm down, and it became a habit to feel comfortable with other people.
Mhm.
But as I've gotten older in my 40s, I realize, I mean, there are things I've learned about myself, things that I don't want to do anymore, things I don't feel like I need to do anymore. And also, sometimes it just makes me feel bad. And that is enough. Like I was getting headaches, and that was enough for me to say, you know what, this is not that much fun anymore.
Right.
And I think I'm just going to cut back. So I think there are a lot of benefits to being aware of your relationship with alcohol, and then perhaps, coming up with alternative things to do. Like, one of the things I discovered for myself when I would go through months of not drinking is having tea in my life. And the beauty of tea is that it's hot, so you can't just drink that thing down. You have to sit with it. You have to wait a little bit. It brings a bit of meditation.
Mhm.
It brings a bit of a ritual into the process of having something to drink. And I think it is a great replacement for alcohol.
I agree. I love tea, and I think it's such a comfort as well to have that, especially during the cold winter months.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, a couple of years ago, we started making these things called shrubs, which
love the name.
are, huh?
I love the name.
Well, you know what? I looked it up, and the name is actually based on an Arabic word that means to drink. And because I was like, where would you come up with the word shrub? And
Right.
the Arabic name is sharab. And so there's that translation. But we made these cranberry shrubs one year, and it's basically a mixture of cranberries and vinegar. Maybe there's some sugar in there. I can't remember, but we'll put a recipe in the show notes so people can try it.
Perfect.
And you take it and you can mix it with seltzer, and it is a beautiful drink to have in like a gorgeous glass so that you feel like you're being festive. It has an interesting taste to it without the alcohol.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes it's just having something in your hand can just get you over the hump, even if it doesn't have to contain alcohol, which so
But it's funny, Nicole, like, why do we need to do that?
right,
Is it the habit? Does it say something about us?
right.
I think it's interesting. And I think a lot of women can feel pressure to have alcohol because of how it alters their state, or because, like you were saying earlier about memes, there's so many memes out there about women drinking wine.
Mhm.
Um, it's just easy to feel pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found, especially in midlife, it's interesting. There are some connections that you have with friends. They're the partier friends, and it's expected that when you get together with them that you're going to imbibe, and that's the whether you're going out to dinner, there's always drinks involved, there's always like you said, that pressure. So it's just interesting looking ahead to 2021 and making those decisions. Like, is that who I want to be? Is that how I want to show up? Maybe I need to not spend as much time with the friends that I had that are pulling me into that cycle,
Yeah.
and really taking a stand for yourself and your health and how you want to project moving forward. And that's a hard choice, you
Well,
know.
it is because I mean, I've been in situations where I've said to friends, "Oh, especially if Brett and I are not drinking together," and friends will say, "Oh, guys, you're not drinking, so like I have to drink alone." I'm sure
Yeah.
people hear that all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting because there is such a space out there for sober living that it's people have a need for it. We had Lori Massacott on the podcast, and she shares her journey and how she was showing up back when she was drinking all the time, and
Mm.
really considered herself an alcoholic, a functioning alcoholic. But she showed like before and after photos of herself, and
Hmm.
sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize where you're at. But man, what a difference! Like, from then to now, she looks vibrant. She has lost weight. She's not puffy anymore. Her skin and her hair are on point. She just has a glow about her and a sparkle in her eye that she didn't have. And like you said, there's so much that can be tied to that need for alcohol. And sometimes that means unpacking some of that
Hmm. Hmm.
energetic baggage and kind of digging deep and asking those questions, those really hard questions. Why do I need this?
Yeah.
Is this something that I want to continue to live my best life?
Yeah.
Because if the answer is yes, that's okay. It's a non-judgment zone here, and for many of us that will be the case. And cheers to your champagne toast at New Year's, and if that's what you need to do. But I know for me personally, my health took front and center stage. It was something that was my why behind why I needed to pull back from that. And I'm okay with that. And I'm not saying that I won't ever have another alcoholic drink in my lifetime. I'm sure I will toast at my daughter's wedding, and I will have a glass of wine perhaps for Christmas celebration, but then that's it.
Yeah.
Just otherwise, like you said, making the shrubs. I was looking online. There are so many companies out there now that are offering non-alcoholic drinks that seem really fun. There
Yeah.
was one that had hibiscus and mint. So it was like an energy cocktail. It was a good, good for you kind of uh, something to put in your body. Or there were these drinks that were plant-based, but they had the vibe of drinking a Moscow Mule or a gin
Mm-hmm.
and tonic,
Mm-hmm.
but without the added alcohol, and just giving you the illusion, I guess, to get into a healthier habit.
Well, but I think that there are some drinks out there that really do give some added benefits. So, for example, Trader Joe's makes this sparkling apple cider type of drink, and they do it in a couple of different flavors. And apple cider is really good for your system.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there is a way to have a drink that feels really special and is good for you. And I think it's all a mindset thing, which
It
I
is.
really feel like you and I have been talking to a lot of folks in our podcast this year, where we're talking about mindset and how that really sets the stage for everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, going into 2021, for folks who are thinking about taking a break from alcohol, I think this is a really important conversation to
It
have.
is.
I think that we can add some interesting recipes and ideas in the show notes so that folks can go and take a look and bring that into the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And, hopefully find that those alternatives not only give you a space to kind of sit and meditate a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
also, leave you feeling better.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. And again, we certainly support whatever decision that you want to make moving forward as we round into 2021, but we're hoping that maybe today give the listeners a little something to think about. And who knows, maybe today's the day to take a swap and say no thank you. I'm going to pass on the glass of wine. I'm going to try one of Sandra's shrubs instead.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're good and they are
Right.
good for you. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great. Well, this has been fun. I'm glad that we had a chance to kind of wrap up the year and, have a conversation that really is to our health.
I agree. Well, let's wish our listeners happy holidays, because this is actually is this heading on Christmas? I think it is, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So
Yes.
for those of you that celebrate, Merry Christmas today. And we're so glad that you're tuning in. Sandra and I have tons in store for you for 2021. So make sure that you subscribe and listen to what we've got cooking. And Sandra, I'll let you kick off our outro.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Messy Middle Road Trip podcast and are ready to embrace the holidays in a way that brings you joy and peace. And Nicole and I want to send a warm virtual hug to each of you as we round the corner into the view of the new year.
And if you want to keep the conversation going, please visit us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or at messymiddleroadtrip.com. And we would love to have you subscribe and leave us a rating and review so we can reach more amazing middlers like you. We're looking forward to our next road trip with you. Until then, thanks for riding shotgun. Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye,
Happy New Year.
everyone.